What's been keeping you up at night? Is your mind turning on how to create alternative revenue streams, monetizing more than milk from your dairy, or cashing in on carbon? Or are you wishing there was a training available for your middle managers where they could sharpen their communication and leadership skills? Well, guess what? You can find it all in one place. The 2024 High Plains Dairy Conference. Keep on listening to find out how you can join me in Amarillo, Texas, March 5th, 6th, and 7th for one of the most truly producer-driven meetings in the dairy industry. And get all the details right here today on the Up-Level Dairy Podcast. This is the podcast for dairy owners, managers, and advisors who are committed to profitability, sustainability, and excellence. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and it's my mission to bring you the conversations that will up-level your skill set and your mindset so you can be a top performer in the dairy farming business. The driving force behind the High Plains Dairy Conference is Dr. Robert Hagevoort from New Mexico State University Extension. Robert shared some valuable insights on our last episode on how to optimize the ROI of your people. And he's back today to tell us what's new, what to expect, and why dairy producers from the Southwest, the High Plains, and beyond will find value in this year's High Plains Dairy Conference. This is your sneak peek at the agenda, which includes 2 pre-conference workshops on the morning of March 5th, a day and a half of speakers and panels designed to help you monetize milk and more, and a new bonus 1-day middle manager training offered in both English and Spanish. I'm looking forward to heading down to Amarillo to MC this meeting, which not only serves the best producers of the High Plains, but has a high value to offer my friends from right up here in the Midwest and our listeners from other regions as well. Check out the links in our show notes to register and make your plans to join me for the 2024 High Plains Dairy Conference in Amarillo, Texas. And keep listening to hear Robert tell you what's in store at this year's event.
So High Plains Dairy Conference was started many years ago by the late John Smith. And when he was in Kansas and when he was in New Mexico as an extension specialist, looking at what are the issues that keep producers up at night, except for feed prices and milk prices, which they can, or feed costs and milk prices that they can't do anything about. But what are some of the challenges that they have, and what is the information that we can bring to the area to help them, give them some take-home messages that they can, when they drive home, that they can think about and say, maybe that is something that I should look at because I've identified that as a bottleneck on my place. Maybe these are some things and some tools and some information that I could implement on my dairy as I go forward.
Robert, you and I have had conversations about this conference and this event and its uniqueness. And one of the things that makes it really unique is who drives the content, who drives the things that are talked about at this meeting. And tell us a little bit about what is behind High Plains Dairy Conference.
The High Plains Dairy Conference has a planning committee, and on that planning committee, we have added quite a few producers. About half or more than half of them are producers in the area. And so when we have our planning meeting, I really only ask one question: what keeps you up at night? And side of milk prices and feed prices. And then we let producers talk about some of the things that they're challenged with, that they find challenging, that they believe they could use some help with. And of course, there's a lot of help out there in the industry, from allied industry, from extension, from universities, a lot of research out there. But we try to bring that all together in one place, a one-stop shop, if you will, at the High Plains Dairy Conference, to where they can go for 2 or 3 days and listen to all that information and take home those messages on those subjects that they have identified as challenges for their operations today or going forward.
Robert, the whole premise and purpose behind High Plains Dairy Conference is why I'm extremely excited to get to be there myself as a host and MC for this year's event. And in fact, I'm really hoping that others from the Midwest and other regions of the country that are listening to this podcast, I hope that this is perking their ears, because there truly is something for them in Amarillo in March. So tell us a little bit about who the conference is for, who you would love to have in the seats there, and what they can expect to get out of it this year.
So it really is for producers. The High Plains Dairy Conference is a conference that we've organized for producers. We're trying to give them the information, as I mentioned, that they are challenged with, that, some take-home messages that they can implement on their operations. So we really would like to bring in the producers. In 2022, the conference represented almost 500,000 cows. Now, in our area, that is, with large operations that we have, may or may not be very challenging, but there was about 500,000 cows represented in the room. And we hope for this year that to be more. Some of the things that we're doing in 2024, maybe a little bit different than in 2022. In 2022, we were still coming out of COVID, and we were just wanting to have a conference and see if we could get back together again and talk about, things in the industry. In 2024, this year, what we're looking forward to is, so two things that producers have asked for is they're either dealing, a lot of producers are either dealing with nutrition issues or with reproduction issues. So one thing we're doing a little bit different this year is we're diving a little deeper in those two topics with two pre-conference workshops on repro, one on WePro and one on nutrition, where we will dive a little deeper into those topics and see once what the state of reproduction is and what the state of nutrition is. And in that, of course, transition cow nutrition is still one of those areas where we're still trying to figure out a lot of different things. And so we're going to dive a little deeper. There'll be a little bit more science, but really the state of nutrition. But at the end of the talks, what we've asked speakers to always do is bring it back home, come up with 2 or 3 take-home messages that producers can utilize as they drive back home and implement those or fly back home and implement on their operations.
Then that's followed up on Tuesday, March 5th is when producers get to come in and take part in these pre-sessions. And then conference kicks off for a day and a half of some really in-depth content based on what you just shared before. And that is what is keeping producers up at night. So a little sneak peek, what's coming up on the agenda this year?
Yeah, so after the pre-conferences, we'll start the main conference, and I'm really excited to have a panel of market specialists who really start talking about what they're expecting here in 24 and going forward, both from the milk side as well as from the feed side, what the world markets are doing. Our producers, of course, are looking at, always looking forward, contracting, milk, feed prices, those kind of things. So an in-depth understanding about what to expect in these markets. And so this will be a very dynamic panel conversation with some experts in that field to see what they are thinking might be happening this year and going forward next year. And of course, we've come through a lot of volatility in the last couple of years, and being able to understand what are some of those forces that are driving this, I think for producers is going to be extremely important. So that we'll be looking at that on Tuesday afternoon. The other thing that is really important that we focused on in this conference is the discussion about milk is still a commodity, but how can we take milk out of that commodity aisle and start looking at selling some of those individual components for higher prices than what milk as a commodity would go for? So, following maybe the example of what Fairlife has done, what are some of the opportunities of taking some of those components and being able to sell those, say, in the health market? DMI has done some work with that, so they're bringing out their folks talking about that. We want to look what the export markets are going to be doing. So Krista Harden with US Deck will come out and discuss what her expectations or forecasts are, hoping to get back to, the higher export numbers and what she sees in the near future and the opportunities that might be out there with what is happening in the rest of the world. So looking at milk, maybe outside of the commodity aisle, looking at exports, but also looking at how to maybe monetize some of our other products. We'll be talking about the opportunities that are still out there and that we're really kind of cashing in on right now is beef on dairy. What are some of the challenges? Dr. Dale Warner from Texas Tech has a really neat talk about, what he sees as dairy's golden opportunity to cash in on this specific area of beef on dairy. So we'll be talking about that. And then the other part of the equation is making money with the tail end of the cow, that carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus, right? What are the opportunities there? What are the technologies that our operators can utilize besides maybe digesters? We keep talking about digesters like it was the only thing that is out there. But there's other technologies. There's other ways to maybe monetize carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus, and even the fiber part, the fertilizer part. And what are these opportunities in a changing market? As we look at the LCFSs that keeps developing on the West Coast, there's some changes coming on, and there's a lot of push to try to get dairy out of that equation of the LCFS. And so we'll have some folks come in and talk a little about that. What are the challenges? What are the threats to that? and what producers can maybe count on as they go forward to see if that is still an opportunity to monetize carbon, towards gas or towards other products, and maybe make money with that side of the cow versus the traditional side of the cow.
So it really, the whole theme of this conference is going to be looking at opportunities for monetization, looking at the current movements of the markets, the opportunities in export market, opportunities to grab more value from milk itself, and also from the other products and the other income streams that dairy producers can generate from what they're already doing. So exciting things on the agenda, but there's also one more very cool and exciting new thing that's coming this way with the High Plains Dairy Conference this year. And that is the following day, March 7th, where you have a bonus training that's available for middle managers in both English and Spanish. Give us a sneak peek. What's that one all about?
So one thing that producers have asked about, and of course this goes along with operations getting larger, and our tendency to promote our best milkers, feeders, breeders to middle managers, where they become people managers. We've heard so often that the Achilles heel of the industry is people management, right? Employees, training employees, empowering employees, getting the best out of employees, but specifically in the middle managers arena. We make our best breeders, feeders, and treaters middle managers without the training or the support, if you will, how to manage people. And so they're really good with cows, but now how can they become and utilize that expertise that they have to make people better? And so middle management training or middle management support is critical, and that comes up in every conversation about HR management on dairies. So it was a request from producers. And so on Thursday, which is a different day to where owners can be at the conference on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the middle managers can come in on Thursday and take part in this middle management training. So it'll be 5 hours of training, and it's led by Jorge Estrada and Josh Hoffman. And they will lead this discussion both in English and Spanish with middle managers on a lot of the topics that middle managers have identified as challenges. So we've done some workshops with them to find out not what we think is important for them, but what they have identified as important, what they could benefit from in their positions in becoming a better middle manager, or for current middle managers to become better at what it is that they already are good at. And so those are the topics that we'll be talking about, and give them a flavor of some of those things that are out there that they could train more in depth on. Because in 5 hours, you can give them a great flavor. It won't be able to cover everything, but at least we will give them some ideas, some concepts, some take-home messages, how to become better at what it is that they're already good at.
So exciting things on the docket this year for the 2024 High Plains Dairy Conference. And that's in Amarillo, Texas, March 5th through the 6th, with this additional bonus training for middle managers on March 7th, available in both English and Spanish. So Robert, exciting things on the docket for this year's High Plains Dairy Conference. So once again, for our listeners out there, that is going to be in Amarillo, Texas, March 5th and 6th, with the additional bonus training for middle managers on March 7th. And I'll make sure we have all of the links in the show notes, so you can go ahead and check that out. And this is, even though we're in the High Plains, this is not limited to dairy producers that are in that area. You would love to have others from outside be able to come in and take advantage of these resources, network with the producers in your region too, right, Robert?
Absolutely. I think we're addressing some of the challenges that some of the very large producers in our area are dealing with, but that is going to be across the country. So we would love to have producers from other areas, and those challenges are going to be the same. We're not going to be talking about how to fix milk prices and feed prices. There's nothing we can do about that. We're going to have to leave that to the system that we have in place. But there's a lot of things that we can talk about. And I think our industry is looking at some of those opportunities, how to monetize some opportunities that are there. And those are the things that we're bringing here. We've gone through a time of tremendously low milk prices, high feed prices. And so all our producers are stressed to the max, but we'd love to get together and talk about what opportunities are out there and how they might be able to cash in on some of those opportunities.
Excellent. And that's what you can expect at the High Plains Dairy Conference this year. And I'm excited to be there myself and look forward to seeing some other folks that listen to this podcast there at the conference as well. So check out the links in our show notes for the 2024 High Plains Dairy Conference. Once again, Amarillo, Texas, March 5th and 6th, with that bonus session for middle managers on the 7th.
You just heard from Dr. Robert Hagevoort from New Mexico State University talking about the 2024 High Plains Dairy Conference. And if you want to join Robert and I at this conference or send a middle manager to the training session, check out the links in our show notes. Hit me up if you're heading to Amarillo. I'd love to connect with you, and you can shoot me an email to Peggy@upleveldairy.com. Thank you for listening to the Up Level Dairy Podcast.